Hello everyone, welcome. Welcome to What If Deku Was Ink? Or What If Deku's Bendy? I don't know, I just like coming up with original names. Don't mind that. Anyways, yes, this will technically start before Quirks. Don't ask. Will it be a quirk? No, it'll be before Quirks. In fact, this is probably gonna be my longest series. And Joey Drew Studios. Oh, it's been a while since I got my bendy vibe going on. Ooh. Haven't mentioned this name in a long time. At least a good couple of years since the game came out. Ooh, anyways. I used to love this game, anyways. Yes, Joyce Drew Studios. What would happen is that Deku, how would you say? How do I make this? Okay, I got how I'm gonna fit everything. So, like, the grandparents or, like, ancestors of, like, the main cast. That's how I'm gonna do it. You know, Joey Drew will still be to the creator, though. I'm not gonna stop that, because, I mean, there's no fucking creator without Joey Drew, so yeah. Sorry. Anyways. So, a young Izuku Midoriya looking for a job. He was always a great artist at school, but people always bully him for doing so. People always make fun of his notes, creating characters out of thin air. Until one day, it was a talent show at his school. He knew he had a couple friends, yes, but none of them really were friends, more to say. More like, they just dealt with him, you would say. They only kept him around because, you know, stuff, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what teenagers do nowadays. I don't know. Anyways, yes, this is like 1990, so yeah. A long way before Quirks. So yeah. I don't know what they do, you know. He don't really got friends because they just stick around him because, you know, homework purposes, I guess, because he can either do their homework or, you know, help them study or something. So yeah. He'll always be a nice kid. The only real friend Deku would have would be Sam. And if y'all all know who Sam is, you are a true Bendy and the Ink Machine fan. Then, yes, Sam. As you see, he's probably like gonna look like this, but more human-like. As you will. And as you see, it will start off like this, and then end up kind of down the road a little bit, start crashing down, and you know, he would turn human, and, you know, everything will come crashing down practically. So anyways, let's say some business people, you know, they wanted to see for future, you know, references if they can, you know, hire some people for the talent shows, you know, judges and whatnot. And what Deku does is that Deku technically makes a couple characters. Technically makes two. Yes, technically makes two. But the second one technically wasn't like it was made for his friend, cause you know his friend was like, hey, Deku, Izuku, can I be a part of your show? You know, Izuku, you know, y'all fandom, yeah. Hey, Izuku, can I be a part? And, you know, of course, Cinnamon Roll Izuku, like, well, he'll be like 18, I guess. Because remember, this is like in the past, specific date, 1935, why not? 1935. So, yeah, let's say, no, 1735, why not? a long way near beyond quirks. So yeah, this is like. Either that or like 1935. Y'all choose, but you know what? Due to me not wanting having more of this parts than it wanted, because this is gonna be a lot of parts, but not that many parts. Like, anyways, 1934, 35. I mean, or 1835, whatever you pick. 1935. This is when it happened. Who's next? You know, I'm not gonna ignore it. I'm gonna ignore it. Anyways, 1935. About 50 years from like 2000, so yeah, I guess school regimens wouldn't change as much in like 50 years, so yeah. 1935. Wait, technically, well, like 5 years, but anyways, it changed. Let's say it's a little bit more defined. This world is a little bit more defined than our recent world, or our world. A little bit more advanced, just a bit more, but not by a lot though. So, you know, school, book bags, cars, so, you know, stuff like that would appear a bit you know, earlier in time, in this timeline. Anyways, that's just, okay, you know, let's go back to Izuku. Oh, yeah. So, you know, Izuku and Sam are, they're, Sam and Izuku knew each other for, like, you know, years. Childhood friends, in fact. And, you know, Izuku never had he had a good life, but did at the same time. Because he did have a lot of family problems, but he hid it, but not really hid it because, you know, Sam was there, so, you know, Sam would, cover for Izuku. You know, make Izuku feel welcomed, I guess. You know, Bendy X Sam, for at least the beginning. Okay, pizza. Okay, got you. Yo, I'm trying to. Yo, sorry, Leela. Damn, yo, Leela, sent me so much stuff. Okay, sorry. So yeah, first, the beginning of, you know, when they're humans, they're gonna have, you know, gay relationship. Why not? I thought it would be cute, and then, you know, Alice Angel will eventually. I'll add her in the story, and like this is gonna be like a long ass video, so hold on with me. So yeah, for a beginning, it's gonna be a gay ship, and then, you know, yeah, he gonna look girls and guys, cause why not? He's Bendy the Ink Machine. Oh no. Anyways, yeah. So back to the talent show. So yeah, at the talent show, he had multiple panels of, you know, this Ink like character that he named Bendy. And, you know, he technically had 3, but it's complicated. He technically had 3 characters, but since, you know, time consumption, I guess. Why not? I'll say he made Bendy, Sam, and who else? You know, I'll say he didn't. I say he didn't, like, when the talent show showed up. He didn't finish Sam's character, so he wasn't able to give Sam a name. So yeah, or Sam's character, you know, the one he drew for him, a name. So, you know, that's how, you know, future he's called Sam or Sammy. Just a little bit difference. And so talent show arrives. People see his drawings and see that they're very unique and, you know, uniquely designed. So, you know, they only had ink back then. Why not? I guess they had ink, but I mean, it's technically, you know, based off, you know, it's pretty old, so yeah. It's on that, you know, verge of, you know, people transferring different colors of ink. But, you know, people are still mainly using, you know, the black, you know, gray, normal colored inks, I guess. So they're transferring the colors in. He draws this character because after everyone else stops using ink by now. Deku's the only one who uses ink, at least by drawing when it comes to drawing. So yeah. After a time, people will, he would have a flip book almost. Of this little, he would call it Bendy, I guess, demon? Technically? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna put out my onesie. I'm tired. Yeah. So yeah, the ink demon, Bendy the ink demon. That's what he would call. That's what Deku would call his drawings. And eventually, Sam's excited because that's kind of like technically his best friend and crush. So I mean, yeah, he's pretty excited. So yeah, he's pretty excited. So yeah, and let's say due to some purposes, people didn't really like his designs. Besides, a couple of business people, but teenagers and whatnot. They be teenagers, they boo and whatnot. People booing at him. He started to cry. And let's say Deku's grandpa, he knew some things, I guess. Like he was more of a sensei than a grandfather. He knew a lot of things. Specifically, demonic things. So yeah, he was like that collector of things. He knew what it was from and what it does. So yeah, just a little hint. So Deku would be sad. He would start crying, running off stage. Sammy would be upset, and the main bully out of the group, he wanted, him and his lackeys, the main bully, him and his lackeys wanted, mess with Deku's, After the entire, talent show's done, they start, picking on Deku. Sammy comes out of nowhere, let's say it's like, not trash time, I mean, lunchtime, This man was like, nah, no. You see, you can laugh at him. Actually, no, you can't laugh at him. You mess with him, you get smacked. So, this is what my boy Sammy does. This man grabs a metal lunch tray, goes to them while they bullying Deku. He yeets it back and just smashes over the bully's head. Like, with the flipping force of, I don't know, pretty strong. All you hear is a from the main bully. Just a cracked skull right there and then. He's bleeding, Sammy ain't stopping. He's like, like, you don't mess with best friends or crushes. So, he beat the heck out of this dude. And this dude's like, what? He's like 7 foot. So this man pretty tall, but this short dude don't care. Like, he average size. And Deku's a little bit short, so, he don't care. Like, this dude will bring you down to 2'2". Banging your head on the flipping metal plate. So this man's just banging. And the other bullies try to stop him, nah. This man was like John Wick, just beating everyone's ass. Just with a metal tray. It didn't stop until, a teacher came over. So yeah. And let's say it was also how would you say, graduation, why not? It was also graduation. Or at least, a year from graduation. So, he's second year, 3 years, why not? All the other years went by, so, or technically 4 years, wait, 5, no, let's say it's, yeah, he went there for 4 years, why not? Technically all of them, because, let's say, Deku and, Sammy, graduated, they were a bit smarter than, normal people, so, they got into college a lot more quickly by the age of at least 16. So yeah, pretty smart. Yeah. Teacher comes over, tries to yank flipping Sammy off. Sammy banging like he like boo, and it's not until like 3 other people come to like hold Sammy back from beating their ass even more, and all the teacher sees is bloody pulps like three kids, three like other kids next to Deku just bruised and bloodied, one with a fractured skull, one like with a uh I guess broken leg, the other with a broken arm, and a couple bruises. Or Sammy, he ain't kidding. Like he on like yandere mode, like overprotective mode. So yeah. They got kicked out. Like there's like no point because corrupted society and whatnot. Yeah, they got kicked out. But here's what happens after before the principal says they kicked out. One of the business people was like, I like your drawings, kid. Here's my card. I think you'll be pretty useful. And by the time, this is a company that is trying to compete with Disney. Let's say, why not? Let's just say Disney is a part of this universe as well. So yeah, Mickey Mouse and all that exists in this reality. So yeah, they're trying to compete with Disney. So, the hatred for, the other flipping company. So, yeah. It'll be Joey Drew Studios. Yeah, that'd be the company. And who is it board? Unlike Disney, how, they have, like, multiple things around the world. Joey Drew's, the main one, they have at least a good 100, while, Disney has 1,000. So, not looking too good for, Joey Drew Studios, but, they saw Deku's talent and like, we need him severely. So yeah, and then Deku was thinking, he was still kind of sad and excited because they give him an offer. Is it fine if my friend comes over or works with you as well? Does he have talent to draw? Like, yes, he does. I'll say, while Deku draws all the decent, like all the like ink stuff, Sam draws. He's more like he got that mold in him. Like he can mold things with his hands. So like stop action figures and whatnot. Yeah. I see. Very interesting. You two are hired. Just come by, Joey G Studios. There's a big gate and whatnot. Big gate. A big gate. Nah, I'm not gonna go UA, 1A. A big gate, nah. That door way too big. Anyways, it's pretty big though. It's a giant mansion. Like when I mean giant, it's like a giant rectangle. Yeah. Giant rectangle, practically. It's about 5 floors, including like three basements, one below another. So yeah, it's pretty big. So now, Disney's beating them by like a lot of points, like a good 1,000 points, because they got 1,000 companies, and Joey G Studios only has 100, so they pretty down there, like yeah. And and so let's say, who'd make it? I'll say the ancestor of Melissa, which is, her name is Celia. Why not? Cecilia. The ancestor of Melissa, Cecilia. Why not? Yeah. So everyone meets. And, things happen and whatnot. They meet each other, like the crowd meets each other, like they meet. I'm giving everyone different names because it's been a couple years since I played the actual game. So yeah, Cecilia, which is gonna become Alice Angel, Boris. Chris is gonna be Boris. Deku's gonna be, if you haven't thought of it, like he's literally in the main screen, like more videos than everyone else. So yeah, he's Bendy, if it's not obvious. And then Sam's gonna be Sammy from Bendy. So yeah, what's gonna happen is that over time, as they work together, Deku and Sammy would increase in ranks. And, eventually, there would be a couple of problems Deku would have because let's say every time he creates a character, the company or Joiju Studios would manipulate the drawing to more of their desire, and the only original ideas that they tweaked was a couple. So the original things from Deku was Alice Angel and I guess Boris. Yeah. But after that, everything else was kind of manipulated by the company to look a bit better or fit their things. So yeah. They saw, oh look, they got Goofy, so we need something to look like Goofy. So they had a wolf, made him a wolf and whatnot. If you want to know what the other versions of they look like, the Boris, the mechanical Boris, Big Boy Boris, they come into the story later. And different versions of the characters would be the cause and edit of what would it be called? The studio, yeah, Joey. It would be going fine with a couple of disagreements here and there with Deku, Sammy, Joey. So yeah. Why not? Let's say Joey is like the ancestor of either Nana Shimura or like I feel like either Nana Shimura or Night Eye. Or All for One. Between those three. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, they have some type of connection, like either some type of like name, change, resemblance, reincarnation, or whatnot. All three of them will be connected, but none of that happens because most of the stories 25 or like good 50% of the stories inside the giant studio. So it's technically not a mansion, it's just a giant studio that is shaped of a mansion. So yeah, pretty big. Because this is the main base of operation. So yeah, everything's made. As Deku's he's happy. Sam's always also happy, and by the time before they made Alice Angel, I guess Sammy and Bendy, Deku and Sam would eventually get closer in relationships. So yeah, eventually Sam confessed his feelings for Deku, and Deku would agree. So Deku would be happy, very happy, and draw both their characters ships kind of almost, yeah. And so, Joey Drew's studios is like, nah, sorry, but we have a new idea. How about add a female character and a best friend? And, just completely take out, Sam's character from the equation. Like, Deku didn't want to do it, but it was going to give him a raise. So, yes. And eventually, what would happen is that Sam would, and he would be more of a side character at this point. Boris will replace him. So yeah, replace the characters. He would still love, Deku would still love what he was doing, but it was weird. Like over time, his mind, the characters will be completely different. Like he brought them to life. Like the amount of descriptions and his writing itself, like what the characters' personalities are, would be so realistic that if you read it, like their scripts, it will feel like they're actually alive. And things will happen eventually until they brought in the ink machine specifically. I say Deku's now at least a good 25, 24. He's like just 25. Either 25 or 27. Either way. So no, yeah. Well, at least suppose. So yeah, they'll be in they'll still look like teens, but just some hairs growing and whatnot. So yeah, that'll be all. And that's when the ink machine appears. The ink machine. And let's say while making the ink machine, there was something in there. It was originally crafted as is technically like one of those, something to make a doll out of. What exactly? Voodoo dolls. It was like a voodoo doll machine. You put, stuff in the thing, in top, a doll will come out on the bottom. Something would happen, because, let's say, Deku's grandfather does have a lot of stuff, and, they'll see this, I'll say why not, in the basement or whatnot, the company would want to see what else you can, give the company, over a while, they will eventually find out about, the voodoo doll stuff and whatnot. And, the grandfather, over, denial and whatnot, will say no over and over, but eventually, come to a close, and, he'll finally say yes, but, do not use it for self-gain, or, things will happen. That's not a normal voodoo doll machine. What do you mean by that? They'll think, Deku's grandfather's crazy because, it'll bring the voodoo dolls to life. So, yeah. Not really voodoo dolls, but just like a doll machine in general. And what will happen, instead of, making a full-on doll machine, like, they will make, some bendy dolls here and there, Alice Angel dolls and whatnot. Cecilia, she'll be happy for her character because, her character looks very pretty. She would try to get Deku, but, Sam's like, nah. Yeah. But, kind of like, he taken, so, kind of back off a bit. Like, yeah. So, anyways, they'll make the dolls for, like, all the bendy dolls and whatnot, tools and whatnot, and eventually, they'll change, like, the entire machine. And one thing the grandfather says, never, take part of this machine and, create it into something else because things will happen. And what they made? They made it a lot more bigger into, a giant ink machine. Instead of a, doll machine, they'll add, like, fix it into, ink machine, to create ink. Because let's say the company was having trouble with the ink at the time, all you had to do is put some materials and it'll turn into ink. Eventually. So, after a while, they did have everything and whatnot, and, they're on, like, that kind of, like, Disney and, Joey Drew Studios is kind of, like, on par with each other by now, and what would happen is that a big hit would happen in Disney. Let's say, they would add a couple more characters, like, I don't know, just think about it, like some more Disney characters, like Bugs Bunny or something. I don't know. Oh, I know that's not part of Disney. That's probably like a different franchise. Just think of the Disney things. I think. Yeah. So, Joy Juice, he's kind of getting worried because it's kind of competition. One's gonna run down the other eventually. Eventually he wouldn't have enough money, so one by one, Joy Juice Studios will go down. Company by company, it will be destroyed until, one's left. And that'll be, the main base of operations. And what would happen is that the only reason this one's not getting down is because it makes, the most money that can compete with Disney. And so, Joey Drew thought of something. What if we can make ink creatures like the characters to dance for us? And man, did they fuck up. Anyways, yeah. So, they decided to advance the ink machine one more time. They eventually created, the prototype of, not the original characters yet, but I guess the original characters do gotta go first, sadly, but I mean, rip Deku, bro, this man about to get pulled. So, yeah. So, Alice, I guess, will be persistent on making her character more of a, she would be a demon at first, but then, turn into angel, and eventually, Cecilia will want her character to look a bit more cuter, you would say. Because let's say it looks like the second version of, Alice Angel, so yeah. So, she would eventually turn into, this art concept of Alice Angels, it was persistent, she needed this job to create more, Alice Angel stuff and drawings and whatnot. So, let's say, besides, drawing, Deku also had to, keep up with the ink machine since it technically was his and whatnot at this point, since by now, his grandfather, died, sadly, and, everything was happening. Then he had to clean up the ink machine, he made his, grandfather a promise that he will always look over the ink machine. So yeah. And what would happen is that, let's say the higher ups needed more things and fast, or they're gonna have to cut some slack to some employees. Let's say some of them caught wind of Alice Cecilia's character. She wanted it. He wasn't providing because he had other things in plan because he was making it but in secret because he wanted to give it to Cecilia as a gift. Like, here, you've been very nice to me and whatnot. But nah, he was hiding it, but eventually led to his downfall, of course, sadly. So, while cleaning out the ink machine, you would say, she may, walking to Deku, she would, like, a player gotta be let go. If we don't let a player go, we're gonna have to fire you. And, Cecilia was like, no, I can't have this happen, She was like, but I can make just as good as drawings as, Deku. And, she just needed to get rid of him, but without anyone, knowing. And let's say, the ink machine had to do some things, due to the, let's say, scratch that. Let's say the ink machine was always the ink machine, but it was just a smaller version of the ink machine. So, the ink machine is a lot more bigger in this timeline than in canon, so yeah. So what would happen is that after cleaning out the ink machine, he would have, a bucket of ink, let's say it was like, he had a cup and he had to refresh the ink or something. So he's pouring the ink in, pouring the ink in, making sure, it was all clean and whatnot, good to draw with and whatnot. So yeah, he was pouring in the ink, and what would happen is that when it's rage, practically. Cecilia's rage got, ahead of her, and, let's say he had his book in his pocket, and, Cecilia was like, Rhino must push inside of there. Must do it. Deku was pushing inside the ink machine. Or, now let's say instead of that, it was by accident. Because let's say they're working together, it's just like, they're talking about, Alice as a character, eventually, she got angry, accidentally pushed Deku into, the ink machine. But something happened, though. When she, tried to get Deku out, due to, some demonic presence or, demonic magic by the machine or materials made out from that machine. Some reason Deku wasn't able to get back up, because, let's say his leg was stuck in one of the gears, like inside of the ink machine. So, he tried to get out, but and then the ink machine turned on automatically. Because let's say it was a little bit broken. Gears started turning. This man at wide eyes is like, hey, yo, can you help me? Actually, no, let's say after accidentally pushing Deku into the ink machine, she got scared, ran off, and as that happened, Sam came in. So Sam was like, "Hey, yo, where you running? What? Yo, come on, you're gonna make a mess." And and then Sam sees Deku in the ink machine as the ink machine's on. Sam's running like a flippin' flash. He's like, "Hey, yo," kind of like with Deku's last words about to get crushed and whatnot inside the ink machine. I love you, Sam. I'm sorry. And as slowly but surely Deku's body starts to get crushed and turned into pure ink. Because let's say it was like ink, but like it purifies it somewhat. No, let's say it was like coal rocks or something, like ink rocks or something similar to that. So turned into ink. So slowly but surely, Deku was eventually crushed to death, or grained it into powder. And eventually, they didn't check something on, because it was based on the original machine. So they built upon the original machine. So the original machine's still in there. So a certain part, how we'd say, a certain symbiote that we all know that's from Bendy, a very star-looking figure glowed below on the ink machine. Red will start to glow. As the ink machine continued with the characters, some characters that some inklings that were out. Some characters. There. Let's say there was. Let's say. Who would be made? I guess that just a couple of characters that weren't really important, but side characters. Why not? Were created before Deku. But Deku, something came out of the ink machine. As the ink machine was turning, like grinding and everything. Everyone heard the cracks and whatnot, or the bubbles at least from the ink. So pure black ink. And what would happen is that Sam would start crying. The ink machine would be turned off by employees and whatnot. Because let's say no one was around until they heard Sam cry. The ink machine was turned off, and the thing was, the ink wasn't. It turned off, yes, but they still heard the flowing of ink somehow, as you would say, a hand popped out. A very black hand you would pop out, or like an ink hand would more like pop out. And this will be, how would you say, Bendy saying, because let's say, why not, let's say, for the plot of convenience, Deku's character, like, let's say he had different books, he always had his books on, each book has a different character, so he had a good, like, 10 different books, or whatnot. So, the Bendy book, the Bendy book fell in with Deku, as, he was crushed, as, Deku became ink, or Bendy, in a matter of fact. As Bendy slowly but surely, like a splash of ink will come out of the ink machine, but it'd be more like a giant glob though. And as Sam will be curious. Everyone will be curious. At least the business people. Sam was still flipping, like, scared, like, sad over, best friend, technically lover's death, so yeah. And what would happen is that Bendy will pop out. The classic, like the perfect Bendy first, or technically the perfect Bendy. Or what they think is a Bendy. Bendy will be formed, what would happen is that Bendy will be created that very day. The soul of Izuku Midoriya. In the pages, personality, and scripts of Bendy, the demon, the dancing demon. All the information will be inside of the machine. And since this was a private, business now instead of a public business, things happened, and from that puddle of sludge or ink, Deku came out, or Bendy. I'm gonna prefer him as Bendy popped out with I'll say first it was the classical. This one at first. What happened to my head? My head. As because let's say due to purposes, due to change scripts and whatnot, Deku had 2 books. One on the original Bendy, and the fun like Bendy, and then the edited version of the company's Bendy. The one that loved Alice Angel, or shipped with Alice Angel and whatnot. So both books will be in there as well. So his memories his memories are gone, but replaced with both the books. Where am I? Who am I? As Joey Drew will be let's say by then he'll be in his wheelchair. He'll be in his wheelchair. As new employees are let's say they're every year they're replaced with new employees. So yeah. Or at least a bunch, just a good portion, but the ones who are the best employees stay. So yeah. Where am I? Where am I? Hello there. Can anybody hear me? As the ink is covering his eyes, or at least he can't see until eventually his body will fully develop into Bendy. So yeah. He would look like this until he turned into this human-like version. So yeah, he will look more like a human Bendy, with major differences in his personality, eye color, and everything. The only difference is that they technically have the same soul, mixed in with 2 personalities of books. So yeah. Bendy will be created for that day forth. I guess, since, let's say, Cecilia didn't, when, everyone shut down for, a couple weeks for what happened, Cecilia got the great idea. Because let's say Cecilia was a nerd, but she didn't like the way she looked. So she wanted to be more pretty. If you get where I'm going with this, she technically jumped in the ink machine willingly with the book, because she saw what happened, 2 books, Bendy books, gotcha. So we just need a thing of every verification of the character, personality, traits, eye color, everything. So yeah, she jumped in with the books, and at that point she was like this. And, her and, I guess, Alice Angel at this point, and, Bendy would, get along, and Sammy or Sam would not like this at all, because he knows what happened. He knows that's still Izuku, same soul, so he don't know, but he has a feeling that's the same as Izuku, but just, no memories. He's getting angry, but he can't really do anything about it. As he will be the 3rd one to jump. Or not jump, but
I'll say forcefully pushed, because they needed more characters. They realized if a person jumps in there or a person goes in the ink machine, the creation looks more lively. More lively. They act more lively instead of just the normal inklings, like the globs, the ink globs you see. Let's say they don't look like bendy, but they look like things. They look like things and whatnot. And I'll see you all later. Ba da ba ba.